My loving audience take my love and subscribes my channel. And dive B&B stories. Have you ever wondered if someone could be so arrogant that they actually think they're doing you a favor while they're effectively stabbing you in the back? Because that is exactly the vibe in the air at Forrester Creations this week. We've got RJ Forrester, the so-called golden child, walking into the design office with a new idea that honestly feels like a ticking time bomb for the family business. But here is the thing we really need to talk about. Is RJ actually trying to save the company? Or is he just the latest Forrester to treat Zen like he's invisible? Let's set the stage here because things are looking pretty grim for the OG fashion house. You'd think a massive international brand would have a solid plan, but no, they're basically operating like a small-town family business right now. Sales are at an all-time low, like absolute rock bottom. And the funny thing is, the family is in total denial about why. They went off to Monaco without a real plan. And what did they get? A reality check from Franny, the fragrance queen. She basically told them she's moving her business over to the Logans. Can you imagine the look on Ridge's face when he heard that? It wasn't just a bad business meeting. It was a total humiliation. So the Forresters are panicking. Ridge told Steffi that they need something hot, and they need it fast because Eric's couture line? Yeah, it's not selling. It turns out you can't just rely on a famous name forever if the designs aren't hitting. And this is where RJ comes in with his big plan. He tells Ridge he's got the answer, and of course Ridge is all ears because RJ is the favorite son. But what is this miracle plan? Is it a revolutionary new fabric? A bold new silhouette? No. Just Elektra. RJ wants to make Elektra the new face of the company. He's calling it Elektra for the future, which is such a blatant, petty ripoff of Hope for the Future that it's almost embarrassing. Think about the psychology here for a second. RJ is head over heels for this girl, and he's using the company's entire survival strategy as a way to score brownie points with his girlfriend. Is that a brilliant business move, or just a really expensive date? I don't know about you, but I think mixing your professional desperation with a new crush is a recipe for disaster. The real sting here is how RJ is planning to pull this off. He doesn't just want a new line. He wants to erase Hope Logan's legacy entirely. He's pitching this as a ruthless payback strike against the Logans. The Forresters feel betrayed because Hope ditched them to work with Katie, and they want revenge. They want to show her she's replaceable. But here's my question. Can you actually replace the soul of a brand with a spokesperson? Hope's line wasn't just about pretty dresses, it was about a message, empowerment, sustainability, all that stuff. RJ thinks he can just plug Elektra into that same slot and the magic will stay. But that's not how fashion works, is it? You can't copy and paste a soul. Now let's talk about the person caught in the middle of all this, Zende. Poor Zende. The guy has been lurking in the shadows at Forrester for years, just waiting for his turn. He spent months, literal months, paving the way for the youth line, and what did the family do? They put his work on hold to launch RJ's couture instead. Can you blame the guy for feeling miserable? He's watching the golden child get the red carpet rolled out while he's told to wait in the wings. And then comes Thursday's big pitch. RJ sits Zen down and basically asks him to be his sidekick. RJ's idea is for the two of them to work together, but look at the fine print. He wants Zen to pull out his old designs, the ones he made for Hope, and tinker with them for Elektra. Think about that for a second. That is a massive professional insult. He's asking an established designer to recycle his own heartbreak and strip the inspiration out of his art, just to satisfy a family revenge plot. Why should Zende have to tinker when he should be leading? Honestly, I think Zende has reached his breaking point. He's already been venting to Carter about how he's tired of being on the back burner. He even went into Steffi's office and told her he's ready to quit. And yet, here comes RJ, totally oblivious to Zende's pain, acting like he's offering him a great opportunity. It's a classic case of a savior complex. RJ thinks he's saving the day, but he's actually the one pushing Zende toward the exit. If Zende stays, he's basically accepting that he'll always be second to RJ. But if he leaves, well, that would be a game changer. Imagine Zende jumping ship to the House of Logan. Bill and Katie would probably welcome him with open arms just to spite the Forresters. And honestly, the Logans could use a technical genius like Zende. It would be the first time a real Forrester actually defected to the other side. Can you imagine the scandal? Ridge would lose his mind. The Forresters are so obsessed with bloodlines and being real Forresters that they're blinding themselves to the talent they actually have. They think branding the new line as a real Forrester youth line is a huge slap at Hope. But does the average customer actually care whose blood is in the designer's veins? Probably not. People buy dresses they love, they don't buy family trees. By making this all about revenge, the Forresters are proving that they've completely lost the plot. They aren't trying to innovate, they're just trying to hurt people they used to call family. And then we have Elektra. She's young, she's talented in jewelry, and RJ is basically pushing her into a role she didn't ask for. He's setting her up to fail. If she acts just like Hope, people will call her a cheap sequel. If she changes everything, the brand loses its identity. It's a total creative trap. Plus, she's already dealing with a messy breakup with Will Spencer. Is she really in the right headspace to be the face of a corporate miracle? The funny thing is, Eric seems to be totally on board with this Elektra Forever idea. But the sources say Eric has kind of lost his whole mind lately. He's lashing out because he's ashamed of some of his own secret actions, and he wants to huff and puff and blow down the House of Logan. So we have a desperate son, an angry father, and a confused grandfather all betting the company's future on a revenge plot. What could possibly go wrong, right? Do you think Zende will actually quit Forrester Creations for the Logans? Do you think Zende Forrester has finally reached his limit? I mean, really think about it for a second. We've seen him play the good soldier for years, but this week on The Bold and the Beautiful, it feels like the walls are closing in on him. Is his threat to quit just a bit of drama? Or are we watching the moment he finally decides that blood isn't thicker than respect? Because let's be real, the way the Forresters are treating him right now is nothing short of a professional nightmare. Let's look at the absolute mess currently unfolding at Forrester Creations because it's a total disaster. Sales are hitting an all-time low, and the panicking in the executive suite is palpable. Ridge and Steffi are basically running around like the house is on fire, but they aren't looking at the real reason for the smoke. They went to Monaco hoping for a miracle, but instead they got a reality check from Franny the Fragrance Queen. She basically told them that the Forrester brand is no longer the it girl, and she's taking her business over to the Logans. Can you imagine how much that must have stung Ridge's ego? He's used to being the king of the mountain, but right now it looks like he's standing on a pile of outdated sketches. The funny thing is, the Forresters think the problem is just a missing face. They are so obsessed with the idea that Hope Logan left a slot that needs to be filled. But they are totally missing the point. Hope for the future worked because it had a soul, and that soul was Hope's authentic message. You can't just swap a soul for a spokesperson and expect the customers to keep buying. But that is exactly what RJ is pitching this week. He walks in with this big plan to make Elektra the new face of the company. He's calling it Elektra for the future, which is so incredibly petty that it's almost hard to watch. Is this a brilliant business move? Or is RJ just a guy with a massive crush who's trying to use the family checkbook to impress his girlfriend? Why is RJ acting this way? Honestly, it looks like a textbook case of a savior complex mixed with a whole lot of nepotism. He wants to be the hero who saves the company and gets ruthless payback against the Logans at the same time. But the psychological layer here is much darker. RJ is trying to secure his spot as the favorite son by erasing Hope's legacy and replacing it with a real Forrester. He thinks if he can just make everyone forget about Hope, he'll finally have his father's full validation. But in the process, he's treating Zende like he's just a piece of furniture in the design office. Think about what Zende is going through right now. He's been lurking in the shadows for years, just waiting for a real chance to lead. He's the one with the technical training. He's the one who put in months of hard work on the youth line. And yet, the moment RJ comes back to town, Zende gets pushed to the back burner. How would you feel if your younger cousin, who was just an intern a few months ago, started throwing his weight around and acting like your boss? It's no wonder Zende is telling Carter that he's tired of being overshadowed. He feels like a forgotten member of the family, and honestly, can we even argue with him? The real insult comes on Thursday when RJ officially pitches his idea to Zende. Now you'd think he'd offer Zende a lead role, right? Wrong. RJ wants Zende to tinker with his old designs to fit Elektra instead of Hope. Let that sink in for a minute. He's asking a talented designer to go back into the trash, pull out work he did for another muse, and just tweak it for RJ's new girlfriend. That is such a creative violation. It's like asking an author to rewrite their best novel, but change the main character's name just to sell more copies. It's insulting, and I think it might be the last straw for Zende. Why does the family think this is okay? Because they are blinded by ego and revenge. Ridge and Steffi are so steamed about being questioned in Monaco that they are making reactive, spiteful decisions. They want to hit at Hope so badly that they aren't even looking at the talent right in front of them. They think the power belongs to the Forrester name, but the fans know better. The power belongs to the idea, and Hope took that idea with her to the House of Logan. If they launch Elektra forever just to spite Hope, it's probably going to crash and burn. And let's talk about Elektra for a second. She's caught in a total creative trap. She's a jewelry designer, not a fashion model, but RJ is pushing her into this role anyway. If she tries to be like Hope, she's just a cheap sequel. But if she changes everything, the brand is dead. Plus, she's already a mess because of her breakup with Will Spencer. Is she really the right person to lead a corporate turnaround? Or is she just another pawn in RJ's game of revenge strategy? The psychology of this whole family war is just fascinating and a bit sad. Eric has seemingly lost his whole mind, and is lashing out at everyone because he's ashamed of his own secrets. He wants to huff and puff and blow down the House of Logan, even though he's the one who went begging them for a job. So we have the patriarch of the family acting out of spite, the golden child acting out of ego, and poor Zende just standing off to the side where only Carter seems to notice he's hurting. It's a toxic environment, and if I were Zende, I'd be looking for the nearest exit sign. So, does Zende actually quit and go to the Logans? The spoilers say he marches into Steffi's office and tells her he's ready to walk out on the family business. And honestly, why shouldn't he? Bill Spencer and Katie Logan would probably love to have a designer like Zende. They need someone who can handle couture or a men's line, and Zende has those skills in spades. Imagine the look on Ridge's face if his nephew defects to the enemy. It would be the ultimate payback for all the years of being overlooked. Zende understands Hope and Katie's position better than anyone else in that building right now. He knows what it's like to be valued one day and treated like an inconvenience the next. If he jumps ship, he isn't just a betrayer of his bloodline. He's a man who is finally standing up for his own worth. The Forresters think they can treat people like plug-and-play templates, but Zende is showing them that you can't replace loyalty with a brand name. What happens if he stays? He just keeps tinkering for RJ. He keeps watching the golden child get the red carpet rolled out while he takes the back seat. The fans are already calling this a disgraceful low act by Forrester Creations. If the show wants us to believe that Zende is a bold character, then he has to make a bold move. Staying in that office under RJ's thumb is the opposite of bold. It's just sad. I also have to wonder about the impact on the industry. If Zende leaves, Forrester loses their best technical designer right when their sales are at an all-time low. It could be the final nail in the coffin for the company. Meanwhile, the House of Logan would gain a huge asset. It would shift the power balance of the entire fashion world in Los Angeles. Bill Spencer is probably already calculating the profits in his head. But let's look at the emotional side of this for Zende. He's spent his whole life trying to fit into this dynasty. He's accepted the odd man out role for so long that it's become his identity. But finding out that even his own designs are being taken and given to someone else's muse has to be the breaking point. It's not just about a job anymore. It's about his dignity as an artist. Can you imagine the frustration of seeing your work used to prop up a revenge plot you don't even believe in? Is there any world where RJ's plan actually works? Maybe if the buyers are as superficial as Ridge and Steffi. But the market has changed. People want a message they can believe in. They want a designer who has a vision, not just a cousin who has a crush. RJ's Elektra Forever name is even a dig at Hope, implying she was just temporary. It's all so small-minded. It's like the Forresters have forgotten how to actually create and have only remembered how to compete. I'm really curious to see how Steffi reacts when Zende tells her he's quitting. She's already overwhelmed with her own drama involving Finn and Sheila. She probably doesn't even have the mental space to realize how much she needs Zende. She'll probably just see it as another betrayal, instead of a failure of her own leadership. That's the Forrester way lately, isn't it? Everyone else is the problem and they are always the victims. And what about the revenge strike aspect of all this? RJ and Ridge are launching this line specifically to hurt Hope. But doesn't that just make them look obsessed with her? If they were really over her, they'd be focusing on something entirely new. Instead, they are just building a mirror image of what she already did. It's a weak move. It shows that even in her absence, Hope Logan is still the one setting the agenda for Forrester Creations. Zende should definitely walk. He should take his sketches, take his talent, and take his secrets to the Logans. He should help Bill Spencer build a men's line that makes Ridge Forrester look like an amateur. He should show the family that you can't play favorites forever without losing the people who actually keep the lights on. It would be the most satisfying twist we've seen in years. I also want to know what you guys think about RJ. Is he growing on you, or do you find him as unhinged as some of the spoilers suggest? He's coming across as very manipulative lately, acting like he's helping Zende when he's really just helping himself. It's a very Ridge way of acting, but without the decades of success to back it up. He's an intern who thinks he's a mogul, and that's a dangerous combination for a company that's already in trouble. And Elektra, poor girl. She's being used as a human shield in a family war. I hope she realizes sooner rather than later that RJ is putting her in a position where she's almost guaranteed to fail. She needs to get back to jewelry and away from the Hope Logan template before she ruins her own reputation. But with RJ whispering in her ear about being the face of the future, she's probably too dazzled to see the creative trap she's walking into. Thursday's episode is going to be the big one. When that pitch happens, I want you to watch Zende's face. Watch for that moment where the light goes out, and he realizes that his family will never see him as anything more than a tinkerer. That should be the moment he decides his future is at Logan. It's the only way for him to find his rightful place, as a designer who is actually valued for his vision. So, here are my big questions for you. Do you think Zende is actually going to walk out that door? Or will he let the family talk him into staying one more time? And if he does go to the Logans, who are you rooting for in the fashion war? Is it Team Forrester and their revenge strategy? Or Team Logan and the soul of the idea? Honestly, it feels like the Forresters are bringing a toothpick to a sword fight right now. I really want to know what you guys think about this. Do you think RJ is actually a visionary who can save Forrester? Or is he just a spoiled kid playing with people's careers? And what about Zende? If you were in his shoes and your cousin asked you to tinker with your own work for his new girlfriend, would you stay, or would you walk out the door? This fashion war is just getting started, and it feels like the Forresters are bringing knives to a gunfight while the Logans are actually focusing on the work. Is Elektra Forever going to be a classic or a complete disaster? We'll have to wait for the big presentation on Thursday to see how Zende handles the disrespect. If you're loving this deep dive into the messy world of Forrester Creations, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. We have so much more to talk about, including the fallout from the Monaco trip and whatever drama is coming next at Bikini. Drop a comment below with your theories. Is Zende about to become the newest member of Team Logan? I'll see you in the next one.